Hi, I'm Coach Amber, and welcome to the Meet RX Success Story podcast. Today we have Dr. Saif with us. Welcome, Dr. Saif.
Thank you so much for having me, Amber.
Absolutely. So tell us, what made you try a carnivore diet? And were you having any health issues?
Well, to be frank, when I started carnivore, I wasn't really having health issues, but I'd already done about 8 years of low carb before that. So I'd already tried for about 7, 8 years. I was low carb. Before that, I was overweight, and I think looking back right now, I didn't get diagnosed at that time, but I think looking back, I was probably pre-diabetic, and maybe I had and I had digestive issues, which I never really got diagnosed. But going low carb and starting to eat more and more meat improved these and improved my levels of energy, and I felt so much better when I tried it. This was 13 years ago or so, that I just continued to stay at it for several years. By the time I tried zero carb, by the time I went all meat, I wasn't exactly suffering from any health problems. I didn't go because I needed to resolve anything. I was curious because I was already eating mostly meat, and over the past few years, I was only just discovering more and more bad things about more and more kinds of plants, and eliminating and finding more and more reasons to eliminate more and more plants. And it was just, it's kind of like how addicts just spiral out of control. I was spiraling into control by just giving up one plant food after another. And then at around exactly 5 years ago to the week, I came across the website Zero Carb Zen at that time. And it blew my mind that, yep, that's it. Let's just eat meat, drink water, and get on with your life and focus on other things in your life. And I thought I was going to try it for 1 month, and I tried it for a month, and I haven't looked back. It's now been 5 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so interesting that you just kind of happened to stumble across it, because there was nothing out there really about carnivore. It's kind of like this quiet little group. So that's pretty amazing that you found that.
Actually, now that you mention it, here's a little claim to fame that I'm going to brag about. I remember when Sean first joined Twitter, and he was still low carb keto at that time. And I remember asking him if he would consider trying out a carnivore diet and see what would happen to his athletic performance back in the day before Sean was a carnivore. So I'll go ahead and take some credit for Sean being a carnivore here. It's probably a bit of credit, but anyway.
I love it. That's awesome. That's perfect. Okay, so when you started going more meat, what were you eating? Like were you including dairy? What about coffee, spices, anything like that? And I also understand that you are a big fan of grilling.
Yes, it's true. When I first started, I used to drink coffee and drink tea, and I used to have spices. But with time, the desire for those things just started to going away. So coffee, I can't stand it anymore. I just don't have any desire for it. Like sometimes if I'm on a long drive, I'll stop and maybe and if I'm getting sleepy, I'll buy a little bit of coffee and maybe have a sip. The last time I did it, I actually just smelled the coffee and didn't even drink it, and that was enough. But your tolerance for plant food just continues to go down, and you see no reason to do it. And also, the reason you don't really want the coffee is just that you never have these down episodes where you need a coffee to pick you up, and so when you take it, you just end up giving yourself withdrawal in a couple of hours, and that's all that I get out of it. So that went by the wayside. Tea followed coffee. I used to have a little bit of dairy, but over time, again, I feel so much better when I don't include it, so I don't include it. Eggs as well. I used to eat a lot of eggs initially. Then I started eating only the yolks, and now I don't even enjoy the yolks anymore. I still get a little bit of, I feel a little bit of a bloat when I have them, and I have no reason to have them. So, there's no reason to eat anything else when you can just eat steak. So so yeah, all of these things that go away. And now I just basically, I'll have some, pickled foods. If I do have any plant food, I'll have some pickles here and there, because pickles are, they're far less bothering because they've been fermented. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I do enjoy grilling a lot. And I've always enjoyed grilling even before becoming a carnivore. Even as a kid, I used to always enjoy, being the one next to the fire and playing with it and making food on it. So being a carnivore has allowed me to indulge that old habit of mine, and I've gotten better and better at it. And I love grilling all the time. Yeah, that's I recommend it highly.
That's awesome. Did you have any transitional issues at all? I know you kind of did this steadily along, but was there ever any issues that you had as you were eliminating the plants and eating more meat and maybe even more fat?
I don't really recall having any transition issues because, as you said, I just did it very gradually. I went from just cutting down carbs to zero carb over a period of 7-8 years. Not that I planned it. It's just, when it comes to nutrition, I've found that it's just much better to try things out rather than to dwell on them so much. So I didn't plan on getting here after reading several thousands of pages of studies and books, but I just I listened to my body and I followed it. So the more that I cut down on plant foods, the better I felt. And basically, the more productive I became, the higher energy that I had, the more focus I could do, the more work that I could get done. And so for me, all of the adjustment issues happen when I cheat, when I have an occasional, then, I'll be slower the next day. I'll be less productive. I'll not be feeling as well. And that's that's kind of the, that's why, the carnivore diet is kind of like it catches you and then it doesn't let you go, because once you've tried the feeling of running on meat and water on its own, nothing compares. Like, you can rationalize, all right, maybe it's okay, I can have this thing right now, and maybe I can have that thing, and yeah, you will be okay, you will have them, you will survive. But after trying it, you realize I would rather have not.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that. Okay, you talked a little bit of some of the things you noticed that were improved, but could you get in more detail? Like, as you were going along on this journey, what were some of the improvements you had that you noticed? And was there anything that kind of shocked you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the all along, just the continuous improvement was always shocking to me. Like, I would say, I started this diet, I started going low carb when I was about 28, 29. And by the time I was 30, 31, I was in better shape than I had been at any point in my life, better than when I was 18 and 20. I was fitter by any objective measure. I could run longer, I could lift more, I could I could do everything. It was just astonishing to see myself becoming an athletic person, which is something that wasn't the case before, because I could barely hold my breath and I wasn't very fit. And so that probably was, when I look back, that might have been maybe the biggest shock of it, is to when I was 33, 34, 35, I'm playing soccer with people who are in their early 20s, and I'm keeping up better than when I was playing soccer in my 20s. And so I was a better player at 35 than when I was a 25-year-old soccer player. And this was clear for me. Like, I would be playing with the varsity team in my 20s and I could barely keep up. But in my 30s, I was able to keep up. I had the stamina and I could run and I could play. So this was quite striking. And as I continued to cut down, I did better. But I think when I did carnivore, so there was the initial low carb high, when you went low carb and you see just how much life is better when you're not eating all of the junk and the extra starches and so on. But then the move towards zero carb was a lot like that as well. And I remember the first few months I was blown away, but just how much, in particular with the zero carb, I think the difference was in the mental more. Like, earlier with the low carb, I felt an enormous difference in my body and my strength. And I did notice an improvement with that after going zero carb. But I think the most striking thing might have been the psychological and mental aspect of it, the ability to focus and work and be more productive.
I hear that a lot. That seems to be a very common thing. So there must be something to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's so many people out there who are starting to hear about carnivore, but yet they're scared to try it. Do you have any advice for them?
Have a steak. Shawn and I have been making this joke for many, many years. Like the answer to all of the problems that people have about this diet, when in doubt, just have a steak. You know, you can't go wrong with a steak. Nobody doesn't like. Nobody in the history of humanity. Well, maybe there are some people, but generally nobody really hates steak. And in fact, I bet there isn't an animal out there that wouldn't eat a steak. There isn't a single living organism that wouldn't eat a steak if you gave it to them. The steak is the pinnacle of nutrition, so you can't go wrong with steak. And I think, you know, the what I tell people to try when doing carnivore is to just figure out how to eat the meat that you like the most, as much as you can all day, and that's it. Don't worry about counting calories. Don't worry about counting macros. Don't bring in any sophisticated, complex theories that are going to make your life difficult. Focus on making your favorite meat as quickly and as easily as you can, and then just watch how your life changes. As you have to worry so much less about preparing your food, because, you know, every time you're preparing your favorite steak just the way you like it. And so, you know, you go to the butcher once a week and you get all the meat that you need, and then you don't need to do more shopping. And then, you know, you prepare it every single time just the way you like it. And then every time you prepare it, you get better at it, and you keep getting better at it, and it just keeps getting tastier. And then, you know, the mental clarity from not having to worry about food, plus the health benefits of, the health benefits of filling your body up with nutritious food every day. You know, keep at it for a few weeks, and you'll see the benefits. Then it'll become very easy to stick to.
Perfect. And you heard Dr. Saif, when in doubt, eat a steak.
Exactly.
So you can't go wrong. I love it. And don't forget, y'all, go check out Dr. Saif's interview, VIP Success, or his interview with Dr. ShawnBaker. I missed it, so I'm going to have to go back and watch it, but I'm sure it was awesome. So be sure to catch that. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Saif, for coming on and sharing your story, both with Shawn and via the success story.
Thank you so much for having me, Amber. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. And you have a wonderful day. Thanks again.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.